Stop. Put your phone down. Read the next sentence twice. Claressa Shields just boarded a plane on Mother's Day, and the woman she was hunting wasn't her own mama. Let that detonate in your chest for a second, because what I'm about to lay out is not gossip, not rumor, not internet noise. This is a documented, dated, witnessed sequence of events that ends Claressa Shields' good girl branding for good. Every receipt, every flight pattern, every text message lingering in the public record, every weak excuse her PR people have tried to bury. I'm pulling it all to the surface in the next few minutes. And by the time we hit the final beat of this video, you will not be able to look at this woman the same way again. I promise you that. I do not say that lightly. I do not say that for clicks. I say it because I have sat with this story. I have read the timelines. I have listened to the whispers, and I have watched this woman dig her own grave one designer shovel at a time. And once you see what I'm about to show you, the picture you have been sold of Claressa Shields will never reassemble itself the same way again. Now, before I crack this whole thing open, before I drop the first piece of evidence, I need one favor and one favor only. Tap that like button right now. Not later, not when you feel like it, now. Because the stands are coming, the defenders are loading their fingers, the bot accounts are warming up, and I'm gonna need every real one watching this to push the algorithm before the cleanup crew arrives. Hit the like, smash subscribe, and ride with me. Because once we step into this story together, there is no walking back out. There is no unseeing what you are about to see. There is no unhearing what you are about to hear. So buckle in, lock the door, silence your notifications, and let's go. We are about to take a slow, surgical walk through a story Claressa Shields has been praying you would never piece together in one sitting. Let me set the stage, because the audacity of what this woman did cannot be summarized in a single line. Mother's Day, a sacred Sunday, a day mothers across this country wake up to flowers, breakfast in bed, handwritten cards from sticky little fingers, phone calls from grown children, and quiet moments of being honored for the lifelong labor nobody else can do. Every real woman waits for that morning. Every grown man who has a child knows the assignment. Call the mother of your kids, send the gift, show the respect, period. And inside that universal tradition, there exists a specific tradition that has happened year after year in a very specific household. Papoose, every single Mother's Day, has reached out to Remy Ma, his wife, the mother of his daughter, the woman whose name is still legally attached to his. Flowers, gifts, texts, visits, every single year, without fail, without exception, without negotiation. That is the unspoken rhythm of the Mackey household, and it has been for over a decade. Anyone who has followed that family for longer than 15 minutes already knows this rhythm by heart. And Claressa Shields knew that. Read that sentence again. She knew. She knew the tradition. She knew the pattern. She knew that on this particular Sunday, no matter what was happening publicly, no matter what tabloids were saying, no matter what statements had been released, Papoose was going to honor Remy. He always does. He always has. He probably always will. And Claressa, sitting somewhere with a calendar and a calculator and a knot in her stomach, decided that this was the year the tradition would die. This was the year she would draw a line in the sand. This was the year she would prove to herself and to anyone watching that she had control of a man whose heart has never actually belonged to her in the first place. This was the year she would interrupt history. Or so she thought. So what did she do? She booked a flight to New York on Mother's Day, not to see her own mother, not to celebrate her own family, not to honor a single woman who actually birthed a child. She booked a flight to plant herself uninvited inside Papoose's mother's home. A home she was not invited to. A home she was not expected at. A home where, by every account leaking out right now, nobody asked her to come. And she walked in like she owned the place, like she had keys, like she belonged there. The audacity is so loud, it has its own zip code. The audacity is so thick, you could slice it and serve it on Sunday brunch. The audacity walks in before she does and pulls out its own chair. And listen, because here's where the picture starts getting really ugly. This wasn't a romantic gesture. This wasn't a sweet surprise. This wasn't a girlfriend popping in with a casserole. This was a strategic, calculated, military-grade interception. She was not going there for love. She was going there to block, to physically position her body in a room where if Papoose tried to slip away for an hour to drop flowers off at his actual wife's spot, he would have to walk past her to do it. That is not love. That is surveillance. That is occupation. That is hostage logic dressed up in a designer outfit. That is a woman building a human wall out of her own body because she does not trust the man she claims chose her. Think about that. Marinate in that. A truly chosen woman would not need to physically guard a doorway. A truly loved woman would not need to fly across state lines to babysit her own relationship. A truly secure woman would have stayed home, lit a candle, poured a glass of wine, and trusted the foundation she was standing on. Claressa boarded a plane because she knows there is no foundation to trust. Tell me, and I mean really tell me, what kind of woman in the year of our Lord looks at Mother's Day and says, you know what would be a great use of my Sunday? Crashing the family gathering of a married man so his wife doesn't get her flowers on time. What kind of spiritual condition does a person have to be in to make that decision? What kind of insecurity has to be eating you alive from the inside out to put you on a plane for that mission? Because that is not the move of a woman who is loved, chosen, secure, or at peace. That is the move of a woman who knows deep in her bones that she is the placeholder, not the prize. That is the move of a woman whose mirror has stopped telling her flattering lies. That is the move of a woman's pillow has gone cold. And here is the part nobody wants to say out loud, but I'm going to say it because somebody has to. Claressa Shields has no children. None. Zero. Mother's Day is for her personally just another Sunday. There is no toddler running into her room with a homemade card. There is no teenager texting her, "Thank you, Mom." There is no grown child calling her crying about how grateful they are. Now hold that fact in one hand, and in the other hand, hold this. Remember the situation with her cousin's baby? The little girl, the one named after her. The child she was reportedly trying to take in, raise as her own, position publicly as a part of her life? Remember how fast that situation evaporated the moment the money got real? The moment the responsibility got heavy? The moment it stopped being a cute photo opportunity and started being actual motherhood. She walked away, disconnected, then turned around and claimed she was being extorted, like the cousin was the villain in a story Claressa had auditioned for. A child. She walked away from a child, then dared to fly across this country on Mother's Day of all days to interfere with another woman's family. Read that again until the hypocrisy fully lands. A woman who couldn't commit to a baby that was begging to be loved had the nerve to commit to disrupting a wife and a child she has no business being near. That is not just messy, that is sinister. That is the kind of behavior people whisper about at her funeral. That is the kind of pattern future biographers will circle in red ink. Now, let me peel back another layer, because what this Mother's Day stunt really reveals about Claressa Shields is the thing she has been desperately trying to hide for 2 solid years. The mask, or let me say it correctly, the costume. Because Claressa has been performing the role of the secure new woman for a long time now, posting smiles, dropping captions, going on podcasts, giggling on red carpets, acting like the situation between her, Papoose, and Remy is settled, calm, mature, evolved. And then, boom, one phone ping, one rumor, one flicker of a hint that her man might honor his actual wife on a... Now, let me peel back another layer, because what this Mother's Day stunt really reveals about Claressa Shields is the thing she has been desperately trying to hide for 2 solid years. The mask, or let me say it correctly, the costume. Because Claressa has been performing the role of the secure new woman for a long time now, posting smiles, dropping captions, going on podcasts, giggling on red carpets, acting like the situation between her, Papoose, and Remy is settled, calm, mature, evolved. And then, boom, one phone ping, one rumor, one flicker of a hint that her man might honor his actual wife on a holiday, and she abandons the whole performance, throws her clothes in a suitcase, and runs to the airport like a woman whose house is on fire. Secure women do not move like that. Chosen women do not move like that. Wives in waiting do not move like that. Only one type of woman moves like that, the kind who knows, in the silent hours of the night, that her position is built on sand. Sister, if you have to fly to a different state to make sure your man doesn't reconnect with his wife, and say it slowly with me, his W-I-F-E, you have already lost the war. You are not protecting territory, you are renting a room in a house that doesn't have your name on the lease. And no amount of frequent flyer miles is going to upgrade you to ownership. No amount of public smiling, no amount of curated photo dumps, no amount of we just vibing interviews. Sand is sand, and the tide is coming in. The tide is here, the tide is at the doorstep, and her shoes are getting wet. And the universe sees everything, baby. The universe noticed. Internet noticed. Screenshots are circulating. Flight times are getting timestamped. People who were at that family gathering are whispering to people who whisper to bloggers, who whisper to the algorithm. Claressa thought she was being a strategist. She accidentally turned herself into the headline. By trying to prevent embarrassment, she became the embarrassment. By trying to control the narrative, she became the narrative. By trying to hide the cracks, she fired up a spotlight and pointed it at every single one of them. That is the curse of insecurity. It always exposes itself eventually. Always. There is no exception. There is no clever workaround. There is no PR firm slick enough to outrun your own behavior on a long enough timeline. The receipts always find their way to the front porch. The truth always gets a flight before the lie can pack a bag. Now, let's talk about the schemer, because make no mistake about it, this woman is a planner. This was not impulsive. This was not a heart-led gesture. This was not a, oh, I just miss my goose so much, I had to see him moment. This was strategy. This was tactical. This was, in plain English, an operation. Think about every piece she had to line up. She had to know the date Papoose's family was gathering. She had to know the location. She had to know roughly what time, what people, what energy. She had to time her flight. She had to brace for the awkwardness of walking into a home where nobody invited her. She had to pre-script the smile she was going to wear at the door. And she had to be okay with embarrassing Papoose's own mother on the one day that woman deserved peace. Pause and let that settle. She was willing to disrespect another woman's Mother's Day in another woman's house to keep her grip on a man who has never publicly, fully, unambiguously called her his. Be honest with yourself. What does that say about the depth of the love story she's been selling us? Because real love does not require sieges. Real love does not require ambush. Real love does not have to elbow another woman's flowers out of the doorway. Real love comes home with you. Real love does not have to be hunted down on Mother's Day. Real love does not need an itinerary. And let's not forget the receipts, because she is the same Claressa Shields who was allegedly attached to a plot, and the streets have been talking about this for a while, to use money to harm Remy Ma's closest friend. Yes. You heard that with both ears. There is a long-running whisper, with names, with patterns, with witnesses, that this woman allegedly tried to pay Remy's own cousin to do something violent to a person inside Remy's circle. Now, whether that ever moves from alleged to proven is a different conversation for a different day, but the fact that it is even a credible enough rumor to keep resurfacing tells you everything you need to know about the energy this woman has been bringing into Remy Ma's life. We are not talking about a love triangle. We are talking about a hostile takeover. We are talking about a long, slow, patient invasion. The Mother's Day stunt is not a one-off. It is a chapter. It fits the pattern. It rhymes with everything she has been doing in the shadows for years. And once you see the pattern, you cannot unsee it. Once you connect the dots, the picture is so clear you wonder how you ever missed it. The picture is a woman who has been at war for years and dressed her war as romance. And let's stop pretending Claressa stumbled into any of this. She did not fall in love and life happened. She did not meet someone and the chemistry was undeniable. She wanted this. She wanted the rapper. She wanted the title. She wanted the headlines. She wanted the speculation. She wanted to be discussed in barbershops and on Breakfast Club couches and in group chats from Atlanta to Brooklyn. She wanted to attach her championship belt to a household name. She wanted the chaos because the chaos came with attention, and attention is the only currency she fully understands. The one thing, the only thing she did not want was the backlash. She did not expect women to turn on her. She did not expect her sister athletes to go silent in DMs. She did not expect endorsements to look at her sideways. She did not expect young black girls who used to wear her name on their hoodies to start unfollowing her in shame. And now she is panicking. Now she is overcompensating. Now she is hopping flights like a woman trying to outrun a verdict she already knows is coming. She wanted the spotlight. She just didn't realize spotlights also burn. She just didn't realize the same camera that crowns you can also crucify you. Let's also have the Jesus conversation, because she keeps inviting him into her press tours and her captions and her interview answers. She wants to claim Christ. She wants to claim spirituality. She wants to be the boxer who prays before the fight and prays after the fight and posts the prayer in between the fights. Fine, cool, beautiful. But sister, which Jesus told you to torpedo a marriage? Which Jesus told you to interrupt a wife's Mother's Day? Which Jesus told you to allegedly finance harm against the loved ones of the woman whose husband you're holding hostage? Which Jesus told you to flaunt an affair in front of a child? Show me the chapter, show me the verse. I will wait. Because the Jesus written about in the actual book does not co-sign destruction. He does not bless deception. He does not endorse homewrecking. He calls people out of those patterns, not deeper into them. And the dead giveaway that her relationship with God is performative and not real is this. Every time someone holds up the mirror, she lashes out. She doesn't repent. She doesn't reflect. She doesn't go quiet and reconsider. She gets defensive. She tweets. She subtweets. She rants. A woman walking with God walks away from sin. A woman performing for an audience just changes outfits and keeps marching. There is a real profound difference between a person who has met Jesus and a person who has memorized his name for branding purposes. The fruit tells the truth every single time. The tree always shows you what it really is when the season turns. Now, let me direct your eyes to the text messages, because we already had a preview of who this woman really was months ago when those messages leaked. Those messages told us everything. She never wanted Papoose to divorce Remy. Sit with that. She never wanted the divorce. She liked the secret. She liked the thrill. She liked the smoke. She liked the title of the other woman to a legendary rapper's wife more than she would have ever liked the boring, daily, unphotographed work of actually being a wife herself. This was never a love story chasing a wedding. This was a fame story chasing a headline. This was a clout play wearing a romance costume. And now that the costume is sliding off in public, she is grabbing at it with both hands, flying to New York, crashing dinners, blocking doorways, anything to keep the act alive. Because the moment the act dies, what is she left with? An athletic career she has been neglecting, a church girl image she has personally shredded, endorsements that are quietly drying up, and a man who has been telling the world in every language except a press release that his heart still belongs to the woman she has been trying to replace. That is not a love story. That is a tragedy with a publicist. Hear me clearly. Claressa Shields is not a victim. She has never been a victim in this story. She is the author. She is the planner. She is the woman who looked at a marriage, looked at a child, looked at extended family, and chose to step into the middle of it anyway, with both eyes wide open, with full knowledge, repeatedly. She knew about the prior public drama Remy had already endured. She knew about the toddler. She knew about Papoose's grown children from another life. She knew about his mother, his cousins, his block. She knew everything, and she still pressed forward. That is not innocence. That is not romance. That is not two adults catching feelings. That is a deliberate, calculated, sustained invasion of another woman's family. History does not forget women who pull moves like that, and history is taking notes right now. The pen is moving, the ink is permanent, the chapter has a title, and her name is on the cover. Now let's talk legacy, because this is where the real tragedy lives. Claressa Shields is, on paper, one of the greatest female boxers ever to lace up gloves. Two-time two-time Olympic gold medalist, undisputed in multiple weight classes, a name that should be carved into the same wall as the all-time greats. Little girls in Flint should be wearing her name on backpacks for the next 50 years. She built that with her fists, with her sweat, with her sacrifice. And now she is taking that legacy, walking it to the edge of a cliff, and gently nudging it over the side. For what? For a married man who will not even publicly claim her with a lawyer in the ring? For a relationship that runs on rumors and not rings? For a position so unstable she has to fly to other states to defend it? Sister, you were supposed to be a hero. You were supposed to be the queen of the ring. Instead, you are auditioning to be the villain of one of the messiest celebrity sagas of the decade. And the part is yours, by the way. You already booked the role. The Oscar is in the mail. Future Olympians are watching you torch a legacy that took 20 years to build, or for a man who will never bend the knee to you the way the world once bent its knee to your fists. That is not love. That is self-sabotage with a passport. And here's the final devastating piece nobody wants to whisper into her ear, so I'll say it loud. Even if Papoose divorces Remy tomorrow, that man is not going to choose Claressa. Let that bury itself in your spirit. He is not going to marry her. He is not going to publicly love her. He is not going to put her on the same pedestal that Remy stood on for over a decade. Everything he has shown the world in body language, in posts, in silences, in absences, in traditions like Mother's Day flowers, tells you exactly where his heart actually lives. And it does not live on the plane Claressa keeps booking. Claressa is defending a throne she was never going to sit on. She is guarding a kingdom she was never going to inherit. She is fighting a war that ended before she even put on the uniform. The pieces have already moved on the board. The game is already decided. She's just the only one who hasn't been told. Everybody else at the table has already folded their cards and walked away, and she is still sitting there alone, betting chips she does not own.
So this Mother's Day, while real mothers were being honored, while real wives were being celebrated, while real women were being loved out loud by the families they built, Claressa Shields was on a plane. Headphones in, mask on, suitcase rolling, chasing a man's family, trying to interrupt a wife's quiet moment, trying to puncture a Mother's Day of peace, and the world saw it. The internet saw it, Black Twitter saw it, the blogs saw it, the aunties in your group chat saw it, and nobody, and I mean nobody outside her paid PR team is rallying to her defense this time. The silence from her usual cheerleaders is deafening. The crickets are forming a choir. The people who used to type long paragraphs in her comments are suddenly unreachable. That silence is its own verdict. That silence is its own headline. That silence is the loudest sound in her entire career right now. Claressa Shields didn't expose Papoose. She didn't expose Remy Ma. She exposed Claressa Shields. The mask came off in mid-air, somewhere between her city and JFK, and there is no boxing belt, no Bible verse caption, no slow-motion gym reel, no curated photo shoot, and no public apology tour that can put that mask back on. The villain has walked out from behind the curtain. The audience is no longer clapping. The audience is staring. And some of us, a lot of us, are quietly starting to boo. Then loudly, then in unison. Because once a culture decides who you really are, the costume becomes useless, the performance becomes embarrassing, and the only dignified move left is silence, which is the one move Claressa Shields has never been able to make. She always answers, she always argues, she always doubles down. And every single doubling down adds another nail to a coffin she keeps insisting is just a piece of furniture. So I'm putting it to you, right now, in the comments. Be honest. Do you think Claressa Shields can ever recover from this Mother's Day stunt? Or is this the moment historians point to years from now as the beginning of the end of her brand, her reputation, and her place in the culture? Drop your verdict below. Tell me where you stand. Hit that like button if you felt every word of this. Subscribe if you want the next chapter, because trust me, this story is not finished. It is barely getting started. And the next move she makes, I'll be right here breaking it down piece by piece the second it happens. Stay close, stay woke,
And remember, the truth always boards the same flight eventually. It just takes the long way home. It always lands, and when it does, the ones who tried to outrun it are always the first ones the cameras find at the gate. Always, without exception, without an out. The cameras are already at the gate, the seatbelt sign is on, and Claressa Shields is the only passenger who still believes this plane has somewhere to hide. This is the part of the story she cannot reverse. This is the moment the entire game stopped pretending. This is the airport from which there is no return flight. Mark the gate, mark the page, mark the name. Because every villain has a coronation moment, and Claressa Shields just had hers on Mother's Day in front of the entire world, with a boarding pass in one hand and a war she had already lost cradled in the other. The receipts are filed. The verdict is in. The story is hers now.